Alrighty folks, so it seems like PlayerUnknown's next game might be an extraction shooter by the name of Black Budget. Now, it also seems like they might be developing a PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds 2 alongside the extraction shooter experience to continue their Battle Royale franchise. Both may be correct, and while there's not much information currently available about Black Budget, its status, when we might receive it, the speculation is that it may release in the year 2025 with a closed alpha or beta test sometime this year being released to check out what the game is like. But in this video, we're going to go over what information has been released as well as some information that was leaked that may or may not be true. So PlayerUnknown's Black Budget, which is more or less a spin-off of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I would imagine that most of the mechanics will end up being the same, and we'll get into that later in the video. It's not a direct one-for-one comparison, but all we really know at this point is that it's potentially planned to be released in 2025. Now, the game was first announced back in 2023 during an earnings call and has really only been vaguely teased ever since. And I will go ahead and say as well, if you guys watching the video have any sources for more current and updated news about the status of this game, please let me know in the comments below. The articles and Twitter posts that I've looked up don't really reveal much other than what we already know. What's interesting is that that information came alongside concurrent information about the next Battlegrounds being developed. Now, PUBG, Battle Royale, everybody knows it. Well, Black Budget is supposed to be an extraction shooter. We'll get into the differences here in just a second, but they're also still planning to develop a Battlegrounds 2, which is interesting, and it kind of makes you wonder how they're going to balance that out, hopefully well, because when you start dividing up your team and splitting things across multiple studios to adhere to multiple projects, it can get a little rocky. On top of all of that, they're also developing a mobile-based experience, which I believe is called Valor, according to my notes here. Now, that could be wrong. That could be a PC console-based experience as well, but I thought I remembered from what I read that that was going to be mobile. So that's 3 new titles, all centered around sort of the same type of universe and gameplay style that this studio and, you know, sister studios, whatever you want to call it, might be working on. Now, the information here that we're going to take a look at real quick, this is from a Reddit post from roughly 3 or 4 months ago. Now, as always with this type of information, you have to take it with a grain of salt. This is apparently a leak, but I have no idea whether or not the source is valid or anything like that. So you just have to take this with a grain of salt. But what we're seeing specifically when referencing Black Budget is as follows. High quality FPS combat, that I wouldn't really consider that a leak or information. A 2.5 by 2.5 kilometer map with urban and underground exploration. So I'm not a whiz on map sizes. I'm assuming that maybe that's pretty large in the scheme of map size for online games. I like the urban and underground exploration part of it. I think that a game like Gray Zone Warfare, their map philosophy is awesome and could benefit from things like that, like mixing urban with the jungle. So that's really cool to see. A dynamically shrinking game zone. Now, I like that a lot. I really like that it's a dynamically shrinking zone, but what's interesting about that though is that this is not aimed at being a battle royale. This is aimed at being an extraction shooter. So usually when we see zones, when we see shrinking game zones, we're talking about battle royales and everybody's being forced into the same area, right, until the last player is alive. With extraction shooters, normally you just have to get out before the raid ends. There's not really a zone or a perimeter of the map that you have to worry about closing in on you. So again, they're blending elements across games. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Customizable weapons and gear, nothing new. Now, this right here, this is a tiny bit of a turnoff for me. I have no idea how this is going to play out, if it actually makes it into the game at all. But roaming creatures, I do not know how that's going to fit in to the Battlegrounds play space. There have never been creatures of any kind as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. Maybe they've done Halloween events in the past or something like that, but I've never been aware of any type of creatures being involved in the Battlegrounds experience. Now, human NPCs, that makes perfect sense. Every extraction shooter has that. Scavs, AI enemies, factions that roam around the map. That makes perfect sense. But creatures, what are we talking about here? Zombies, you know, like alien life forms, giant bugs. I mean, where is the line drawn between like this sort of modern-esque, you know, tactical military style shooter, and now we're kind of drifting into the land of the unknown, dinosaurs? That kind of makes me a little hesitant to buy into it. I'm not sure I like that, and I don't know what it means. I guess we'll have to see. I really don't want it to become, though, based on what PUBG has kind of always been, like this weird quasi-zombie thing that so many developers feel they need to put into online multiplayer experiences. All right, moving on to the next and final point, an in-game boss battle underground. Again, I'm 50-50 on that. I have no idea how that's going to play into the overall experience or what that would look like, but it reminds me of something like Killing Floor, and paired with the dynamically shrinking game zone, if you were to think of that as like, oh, this is a round-based system, the correlation starts to make more sense because you have an in-game boss battle at the end of games like that, Killing Floor, where you make it through several waves. Same with Call of Duty Zombies, and then the enemies just get harder. You eventually face a boss. But again, how does that play into the world of PUBG? I don't know why there would need to be like these creatures or big otherworldly bosses in an extraction shooter that's never had anything like that, when you could just have it be an extraction military tactical style shooter. And don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not trying to dog on what this game might be at all. I think that PUBG, and it's verifiable that PUBG still commands like a ton of online concurrent players. It still has a hardcore and dedicated player base. Whether you like the flow of the game or you enjoy the way the game plays or not, it's still a very relevant game in the online battle royale space, whether you like it or not. It's just that certain things that I see like that, or if I see things like that and I try to think about how they fit into the universe, it kind of just makes me wonder, okay, what direction are we taking, and maybe why are we taking that direction? I don't know, but maybe that's why they're also planning to develop a PUBG 2, because Black Budget may be more of an experimental thing rather than just a straight up extension of their core game. Moving on from speculation and rumor, though, we can't really talk about concrete things when it comes to Black Budget or PUBG 2 because we simply don't have enough information and we just don't know. But some things that I do want to talk about, and this is all just my personal opinion of having played PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and what I would like to see maybe the other games transition to or incorporate, you know, that's things like the maps. I think that PUBG has a really nice map rotation, and I think that that should be the standard across all online multiplayer games, is to have a solid map rotation, and they've continued to put out content as well as the migration to Unreal Engine 5, which will hopefully be in full effect by the time these next games come out. But in online battle royales and extraction shooters, Arc Raiders has done this really well. I feel like a lot of emphasis and focus needs to be on the maps. The maps need to be more vibrant. They definitely need to be bumped up in fidelity. They need to be given life. They need to be interactive. They need to have life in them, not just rain and snow, but things actually going on in the map, in the world, that makes it feel like you're a part of a living, breathing environment. PUBG has its own style. Anybody who's ever played PUBG knows this. It's a very even-keeled, sort of straightforward, static game. The gameplay is very slow. It's much slower than Call of Duty, of course, Apex. You know, it's more on par with a game like Tarkov. It's just very slow. So I would like to see maps maps and things going on in the maps that help maybe sort of speed up the pace, or at least make the environments feel a little bit more lifelike and dynamic. Walking around a map in PUBG, considering how big some of them are, it's very, very quiet a lot of the time. You could easily make it to the end of a round of PUBG and never even fire your gun multiple times in a row. So we'll see how that pans out, but that's one hope for me. Apart from that, I don't have anything to complain about when it comes to the performance of PUBG. These days, PUBG plays incredibly well, and I think that will only get better across games, I hope. I mean, it's 2025. I really hope that we're not still releasing brand new games that you can only get 60 to 80 frames out of. It does still happen. It's unfortunate, but I'm hoping that with the upgrades they make to the engine or transitions they make, that doesn't happen. So performance-wise, I think we're on par. I think the game, you know, Black Budget or PUBG 2, whatever it is, I think it could definitely stand to benefit from a lot of graphical improvement and visual fidelity, so everything isn't so blocky and static and just sort of lifeless. That's across the board for a lot of online shooters though. And the NPCs, man, again, if they're gonna add NPCs to the game, specifically in Black Budget, they need to be difficult, man. There needs to be a varied amount of them in varied locations, depending on, you know, the area. Maybe they're guarding higher tier loot, whatever, but they need to be difficult. They need to be rewarding to fight and to kill. But the creature thing, you know, it puts me on edge. I don't know about the creature thing, you know, and what they're planning to do with Black Budget. That has me a little hesitant. We'll just have to see how that goes. But the guns as well, the guns and just the navigation of your character and the gunplay in PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, that's always been like a little bit of a learning curve when hopping into it. It plays very differently than a lot of other games when it comes to the weapons and how they feel, the control, the recoil, the shooting, various things like that. I think it could probably be tweaked just a tiny little bit so that it's not so erratic. It does take a little while to get used to. You do have to try to actually be good at it, and I'm not complaining about that. I think that's a good thing to have. But I think with the upgrades that they're making to the game overall, it could definitely have more of a tactical, precise feel to the weapons, depending on what the weapons are, maybe the tier of the weapons and the attachments that you have on them. Sometimes the weapons in the game are just so erratic and all over the place, it's very difficult to see yourself using them at all. So just improving quality of life overall for the game. I'll wrap it up there though, guys and gals. At the end of the day, again, you know, we don't know much about Black Budget or Battlegrounds 2. We don't know exactly where they're gonna be, when they're gonna come out, you know, if they're gonna be in beta or alpha this year. I haven't seen or heard anything new about what's going on with the development of those games, how long they've been working on them. But it seems like they're trying two different things, which may be good, may be bad. Hopefully, if they do, you know, go through with two different experiences, they're both executed well and they're not executed half and half. Again, PUBG still commands a lot of players. It still has an active competitive tournament scene. So the player base is there for this game. People still like the way the game feels, and they want to play it. And we need good shooters, man. You know, we really do. The RPG space is killing it. The indie space has had a lot of success. Shooters have really fallen off the map a lot. I mean, I know there's probably indie shooters out there that are knocking it out the park, but Battlefield is like the only thing I can think of that's coming down the pipeline in the AAA space that's hopefully gonna bring us something kick-ass. So we need shooters, man. Warzone and Apex, PUBG, you know, these games have been around for years and years and years, and they continue to dominate the landscape. There've been a variety of titles pop up, but you know, you just don't ever hear about them. Squad and Arma and Tarkov, those are very niche, you know, hardcore, dedicated, player-based type games. So if a game like Black Budget can come out, if a game like PUBG 2 can come out, and you know, they can focus just on quality of life and tweaks to make the game feel nice and tight and fluid and just expand, man. You know, we upgrade that level of tech that we exist in when it comes to games, you know, movies and all this stuff. We have it, you know, so take your time and upgrade those experiences so that, you know, we're not playing an online multiplayer game that is just sort of dull and a very slow pace, and you know, it just doesn't have much life to it. And again, I've said before and I'll say it again, Arc Raiders has done a really good job of this, at the very least in terms of the dynamicism of their environments. So, you know, those types of things are what's really going to help elevate this genre of games to the next level. So I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out about this game, and you know, if they do release a test, then hopefully we get access to it. But let me know what you guys think. If you have any more information about this game and what it may or may not have, when it may or may not come out, please let me know below. I have not been able to find much at all. Subscribe to the channel, man. Like the video, it helps a ton, and it's totally free. We're posting content here on a regular basis, and we do stream live, so I'd love to have you, and I will see you guys online.